So here, before I go to the herbal programs, I want to cover one very important matter, the thing that the herbs will not cover. It's healing from within, and the different aspects which are non-physical, which put together your health. And I haven't figured out which ones are more important. Well, there's actually schools in Russia which say it's really not about food, it's not about the herbals. Your health is depending on something else. You got to radically change the way you think, or you got to radically change the way you feel. You can create your new thoughts and have your head filled with those instead of the previous content, which we already know how that is like. And it works. And there's also people who go to the desert and they learn to breathe the way that they can absorb nitrogen from the air. Nitrogen and oxygen, which is actually the main constituent of the cells, they just breathe. And they go to the desert with no food and no water, and it works. And there's people who are lightarians, and with enough faith and a little transformation process, that works too. And you can absorb the nutrients, everything is contained in the air, which touches your skin if you want, which touches your mucous membranes. You can absorb everything through the air. You can train your body that way. So the health is not just only about food and herbs. I haven't gone to the extreme of trying any of those. I'm happy with my food. I actually like to eat. I like to cook and I like to eat, and I'm a real gourmet actually. And I can really be a little bit out of hand when it comes spending money for food. I actually don't look what things cost. I know what I need and I go and get it. And if I spend my last penny on that, then I know that the money will come in somehow, but I've done the right thing and there's no second thought. But don't take the example from me. It's also good to be a little bit in certain framework. Well, I'm so lucky that our possibilities have grown in terms of abundance with the herbs. That's for sure. But in general, good to have balance in everything. And why don't just live like a normal human being in a grounded way of eating and going to the toilet and everything as everybody else. So we've covered the physical. So what else is going on inside? Where does that stress come from? The stress, that famous stress of the 21st century or whatever, the city life, whatever you call that. First of all, we do not express ourselves. I went to my osteopath. I tell you, she was pressing a couple of points there, was screaming and said no. And then things started to uncover. One important thing to know, things do get hidden in your body. They get stored in your body. Whatever happened in your life, whatever you're holding, a professional eye can read from your body what you're going through, what you have gone through, and what's your main issue. Just from your posture. No details on that, but your body holds everything. So she started working on certain areas of my body. And you know, those who are in the business camp, they know how I really love to use foul language in a juicy manner. But if you had heard what came out during that osteopathy session, you would be surprised. Because like all the pent-up emotions towards even certain people, it was coming out in a stream of ugly words, and it had to come out. And this is one thing on my throat, this expression. She said, hey, love, you know what do you have? You have tension in the back of your head connected to your jaws. It's one single tension here. It's just you hold everything in the back of your mind instead of talking. And look, 150 years ago, people did not have these mental problems, you know, not any of them. Their posture was all right. The thing was that if anybody didn't like anything, they just put it right straight. They just expressed their truth and had a real good quarrel, and there was no issues. And now that we are so taught of being polite and like not hurting people's feelings, and everybody spiritual rights and all these nice ideals, and then we actually swallow our things, we hold them at the back of our head, everything gets really messed up in the body, and it creates big tensions, which in chains they affect all our inner organs and our poor adrenals as well, and things go down and down just because we do not talk in the way we would express things in a constructive manner. There is a whole thing about authentic ways of relating. It's about like speaking it out and also receiving when you get truth spoken to you, which is not exactly pleasing. In Ubud is big right now, and a couple of my very good friends give trainings on that and take trainings on that. It's a big thing because this matter of being able to communicate, to speak it out and really get it out through your mouth with your speech organ, it is important for us human beings. Otherwise things get stored in our body and eat us up from inside, or they build up to the point of explosion, which is not healthy for you or for anybody involved. But this is energy. These unspoken things, it's going to be destructive energy, self-destructive or destructive outwards. And in fact, if you have a couple of those things where the energy gets like big until the point of explosive, things can go worse. Like people have gone crazy, people have grabbed their guns and started shooting all their friends in the classroom. It's because of this stuck energy there, here. Don't underestimate that power of this matter. It's important to get things moving in this area. So then there is this thing of trauma in the Western world. I don't know how we created that. It does not exist in Chinese world. I don't know if it exists in Balinese world, but sexual abuse, incest with children, abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, coldness, emotional coldness that a child can experience in a family. Even the fact of it being put away in a different room than parents at the age of 1 day of their lives. It's just what the Western world practices, but it's not natural, all of that. It's not how a human being is designed to grow up. So all these things of childhood, they create immense trauma in us. Traumatic experiences, rows of experiences, years of experiences, bullying at schools, just the order of the day. Especially kids which are sensitive and gentle and beautiful, they get bullied, normal. Cultural differences, race differences, now, well, there's very mixed, there's a lot of colors, not only in Ubud, there's a lot of colors in Switzerland, in any big place. People cannot live together, they cannot understand that black person functions differently from that yellow and that white person, and it's acceptable. Better I go and learn and find out. No, different. To be outed, different color, different thinking, different values, going on all the time, everywhere. That's a lot of stress. For those receiving that stress, and for those giving that stress, and for those perceiving that stress. It's human relations. And then we store it. The stress of trauma. And sometimes that trauma twists your body in a certain way, twists your psyche in a certain way, your mental patterns, so that everything in your life, every little second of your life becomes traumatic, creating that stress. And we do not know much about it because that's how we have been functioning. Depressions, ADHD, ADH, kids from early age, they get pumped with hardcore medicines to square them to function the way the world wants them to. And that's in Germany, that's in the US, that's in Russia, that's everywhere. And the more the Western world expands its tentacles into our lives, the worse it gets. And the thing is, we do not have a healthy point of reference anymore. If our mothers function that way, and if anything new gets introduced, we just take it as a matter of fact, just as we take the food chemicals everywhere as the matter of fact. Just like nobody would even sit down and give it a thought. We're being programmed through the TV, through the subliminal messages, through whatever these cell phone towers emanate, whatever the cultural values. It's a constant programming. It's like in the Matrix. How many of us take that pill, you know, which the blue pill it's called, right? How many of us? Have you chosen to do that? I have. The road there was not easy, but I guess I'm now in the process of exploring the world in my new body. It's cool, but don't expect it to be easy. But then it's your choice. You can also not take it. Most of the people don't. They don't live happily ever after. No, they suffer really big time. But it's their unconscious choice. If we can make a conscious choice, then all right. We can consciously choose whichever pill we like, right? Or no pill. But it's in our hands the moment that we have the information and knowledge of it, of the process. So bombarded by stress, plagued by our inner own trauma. And I tell you, people deal with the results of their trauma at the age of 90. Most of people haven't, they die with it. They die with it. And then if you believe in the reincarnation, you'll be taking it again in some other lifetimes. That's really useless residue. The other choice would be to work on it, on your emotional luggage, to take it out of the cells of your body. That's how it's connected, creating blockages, energetic blockages in the work of the inner organs, all of that. And then there's this matter of mental patterns, mental patterning, the way our mind likes to function. It's very repetitive, it's very redundant, it's very stubborn. It usually sees one way, or my way, or the highway. It's hard to change, it's hard to look, hard to turn perspective around and look into itself. It likes to project. Usually, if I'm wrong, then I don't see that whole world is wrong. I can project exactly the same problem in every person I meet. And I've done that before. How much I projected into my husband, it's incredible. It's been my mother, my father, and my grandfather at the same time, a big mess of whatever is possible. And our relationship has only started to work out in beautiful ways after I got past my traumas. So those mental patterns and mental ways and habits, they really direct our lives big time, most of the time. If they say that out of our 100% of brain capacity, we usually use up to, how many? 5, 10, 5, 2, 3, maybe 2, 3 if you are the TV consuming person who does not think a lot. Maybe 5 if you got a management job, but it's a little bit more if you know how to use both hemispheres, if you can perceive the energy. There's a lot more information you could actually work with, and that would be going towards 10% at most. There's more possibility if you start meditating and really cultivating all these energies and you can use more. And then there's a capacity of brain which you can use for intention and for changing your world and the one of others, given it's healthy if you have a lot of responsibility and knowledge, deep knowledge of how the world functions. Otherwise, it's also possible to mess up a lot, but okay. But there's the mind, and we're using a little bit of that in very unproductive ways. And that all influences our health also, our body, our holding patterns, our tensions, our blockages and all that. Mind, emotions, and then the body itself. And then the energetic matters also. I mean, we have the body. The body actually has energy channels everywhere. And it has those energy vortexes, which we call chakras. And there's not only 7, there's actually 8. One is somewhere behind, probably connected to one of the glands which are more hidden in the brain, and then there's two each, one in hands, each hand, and there's two in knees, two in the feet. Then there's above our body, below our body, and in each fingertip. But if we find a way to work with those, and if these energy vortexes are in harmony and open, that's a big thing. That adds a big dimension of our health and life quality. And those channels also, they're blocked or they're open, that makes a lot of difference in every way. So I think I've covered all the main. Yeah, of course, then there's the spiritual thing and the life purpose, which we actually touch deeply in our startup business, conscious business startup camp with Yunus Freeman. That's a big aspect, actually that's the main aspect, because if we can be in alignment with our soul's purpose, of how we are actually made by the universe for this world, with our tasks and capacities, talents and strong sides, we can use that and then work on something, on a vision, on something that serves humanity. That's how we can really be in alignment, and then a lot of blockages would be removed all by themselves, just because things align, because it's a different energy flowing through you. It's also a big theme of Sergei's work. I haven't studied all of his offer. It's pretty amazing, but there's a whole online training that's possible, in Russian probably. I'll ask you to tell about it later. I'm really very interested in myself. These things, if I haven't covered anything, fill it in. I mean, it's hundreds of ways and immense depth of educating yourself. So I just wanted to address a little bit of how to deal with these things. For the mental aspect, hypnotherapy is a big thing. And well, I've done a retreat in Peru, Amazon, shamans, sacred medicine. There's a lot of sacred medicines, plant-based, which is a lot different from psychedelic substances, where they unfortunately usually land in the classification by those not understanding. You can study that. If you want me to share that center where I went to, which I'm really deeply impressed by, and which made the main change in my life. For all these years I've been on my spiritual search and healing journey. It's the Temple of the Way of Light. Well, actually, Temple of the Way of Light. The website goes Temple of the Way of Light in one word.com. So ayahuasca, this particular sacred plant medicine, it does cover mental, psychological, energetic, and trauma aspects. So basically it goes very deep and it covers all these areas at the same time. So if you're lucky, you get a complete reset of your life. If it's not your time, you'll probably get deep insights, but doing it in the right place with the right people, in the right settings. But it's important not to mess around with these sacred medicines in the wrong environments, by the wrong people, with the wrong shamans even. There's a lot of disaster and damage that can be created. You got to choose your place and time and settings. It's important. So it was my way, my road. It's not the highway. I mean, you can find your own road. But with the mental things, I've found Byron Katie's work pretty impressive. You can find out online and learn it by yourself. And that is hypnotherapy with regression into where those patterns come from. And you, in the deep subconscious state, you can also resolve them quite nicely. Then about the energetic body, how to open those channels and chakras and what. You can learn to meditate, you can learn visualizations, and don't expect the chakras to be exactly the same colors with the same petals as in the book. It's your own experience. It's important to take it experientially. A lot of interesting things when you start experimenting there. And acupuncture definitely works on the level of the energy channels. So there's moksha, there's energetic practices like qigong, there's this white skeleton meditation, which is a kriya, which is a technique. You may not find everything by Googling, but you can ask me for the resource. Very strong, opening, I mean, it works again on many levels, including the whole energetic system. Energy workers, Reiki, I don't know, that's important to see who you work with from the inner planes. And I mean, there's those inner planes, as we know in Bali, they're very inhabited, and it's easy to get an entity. And it's easy to get an entity from a healer, because those healers usually have not gone their journey. They use someone else's force very often in any culture, and there's more brojos, or you call that, than shamans. It's like hard to find a real clean, pure and practicing practitioner, but it's worth looking for one. Well, a little advertising. Hong Wang, I mean, he's really working, my husband is working on it. He's practicing big time, and he's walking his journey with all humility and working on his nature and inner aspects, and that he has gotten in a sphere of pretty nice and strong energies of pretty good quality. But yeah, self-practice. I mean, practice yourself, like meditation, and it's the simplest meditation techniques. Breathing and the white skeleton meditation, that's the best. People go to Vipassanas, that's also for the mind, very good thing. You face yourself, facing yourself part is not fun. Even with the sacred plant medicines, it's a very hard journey. But that would cover the mental and energetic aspects. Trauma, yes, the body work. You'll have to go through your trauma again. You'll have to face the things you've hidden from yourself. There's no two ways about it, really. Body work, shamanic work, breath work. But you have to go in that. You have to go in the pit of the darkness. And I could not access mine, because sometimes we have defensive mechanisms around our trauma. It could be too hard for you to re-experience what you've gone through then. So that happened to me, but ayahuasca did the job. It was not easy, no. At some point I didn't think I'll survive it, but I did. And here I am, as mentioned, with minus mold infection and trauma. That's a new life. Anyway, everybody got their own unique journey, each step of that. My recipe won't work for all. There's no universal recipe. There is no universal recipe. There's intention and about an approximate feeling what the goal could be like, and the yearning, the aspiring to achieve what you're going for, and persistence and flexibility, because you got to play soccer here with these things totally. That's about it. Like a little galloping speed, moving through this big field. But it's important to address most of the spectrum. It's like, yeah, homeopathy, don't forget homeopathy. That works on many different levels. The psychosomatic aspects of the human health, that's where homeopathy is amazing. I use it as support in my journey. I've been using it since I knew about it, and I use it now. Those subtle things will make a big difference. You'll find out a lot when you start looking around. So here, I feel I have covered the different aspects of health as much as I could. And if you have a question or two, I'm happy to hear those. Short ones, short answers.